A warm welcome back to Power Lunch. Now, the South African retail industry has seen many changes across the last 10 years, specifically in how changing buyer preferences have impacted how major retailers ensure their sustainability. But joining us now for more is Dylan Ross Kent, Chief Executive and Founder of Hygizone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Rather complicated thing to understand when you put it in so many different words, but in a nutshell, you're basically adhering to what consumer trends and needs are at the moment and how they've changed recently.
Yeah. So I think, basically we're from a business company called Hygizone, and we offer a range of products that extract air directly through toilets and urinals and eliminate the odor and bacteria at source. And I think what that's come from is just from understanding consumer trends, and things are changing and people are obviously adopting new concepts all the time, and where we in a market where good enough isn't, normal isn't good enough anymore. So that's where it came from.
It's a strange business to go into. How did you fall into this one?
It is a strange business, Alec. The idea actually came about 12 years ago. I was over in the UK. I come from a sort of electrical and plumbing background, and we were working in buildings over there, and those guys obviously been so far ahead of the curve. We worked in a lot of these high-profile buildings in and around central London, and everything was state of the art. And one day it just struck me, geez, why, surely there's got to be a better way of extracting air through toilets. And we basically came up with a concept, and been developing the concept for about the last 6 years.
So what you've designed yourself?
We designed it ourselves. So we designed it from scratch, and it's basically a product that, like I say, because it ultimately removes the odor, but there are a lot of things that transpired from that, things that we didn't even realize in the beginning. But from a health point of view, the product's been specified by KZN Department of Health for health benefits, because a lot of your viruses like your SARS and your swine flu and even TB are in fact 7 times more contagious through diarrhea than through coughing and sneezing. So we've been specified by the KZN Department of Health.
You know, it's lunchtime at the moment.
Oh, didn't you see my reaction?
Yeah.
But what interests me about the launch coming into South Africa, where obviously you're trying to introduce a concept which wasn't familiar with the local audience. How was the reception?
So I think there, the response is always, it's the same as once it's installed, it's an invisible product. But it's been compared to, back in the early days when aircons and radios came into cars, people was the same response. Oh, it's a luxury item, we don't need that. Who needs an aircon or a radio in their car? And I mean, you look at it years later, you don't get a car. Once people have experienced that comfort, I think our society at the moment, we're all about comfort and convenience. So if once people experience comfort, they never go back. So I think that's what's happened with us.
From a broader perspective, if you designed and developed this all here in South Africa, are you looking at global markets?
We are definitely looking at global markets. I think our biggest challenge, like I say, with the product, is the product, it's ultimately a first world product that we've been launching in a third world country. So
there's enough first world in South Africa to give you a marketplace.
Definitely, there's enough first world. So I think one of the things that came up recently was last year there was in 2013 there was a global BOMA, it's a Building Owners and Managers Association, a global tenant survey, and one of the opportunities that was identified through that was health and hygiene facilities in buildings. And part of that survey, it came out that South Africans were the least happy with their facilities, health and hygiene facilities in buildings. These I'm talking purely for the tenants. So I think that's created an opportunity for big groups like Atterbury's and your Growth Points to introduce the product, which they ultimately are. Yeah.
It's interesting that you mentioned the property companies, but why not also partner with a Bidvest or a Servest, where that's one of their core functions?
I think we ultimately just trying to prove the concept ourselves. It's not to say that we'd never deal with guys like that. So what we're doing at the moment, we're trying to embark on with key retailers in the industry and get those guys on board with it.
So where are we going to now go and get fresh smelling toilets in future?
We've in with Bathroom Bazaar, so products going to be available through Bathroom Bazaar nationally, and then a lot of we're busy with Plumlink and your on-taps. We're in with on-tap.
So you can use it in your own home?
So you can use it. So we got two aspects. We've got commercial and a residential aspect. So the residential aspect is obviously in your home. It's got its own little fan unit. I mean, the concept is so straightforward, but it's again just getting that consumer. And I think there's so many more opportunities that crop up just as people understand the changing consumer trend.
I like talking to entrepreneurs about their background and where they started, because many entrepreneurs had a paper round or something along those lines. What was the first business you had?
The first business I did, it was actually an electrical business, and I did a lot of,
How old were you?
22.
All right. So you didn't, as a kid, you weren't entrepreneurial.
I was always, as a kid, I was always involved with, from selling chickens at a young age to all sorts of bits and pieces. So yeah, I've always been into innovation.
What drove you to do that, do you think?
I think just trying to just see something different. Never quite happy with the way things are. There's always, if there's a better way of doing something, I've always been driven to try and do that. To common sense. Yeah.
Are you still seeing gaps in the market when it comes to hygiene and more innovation in that area?
We do, yeah. So we constantly, I think, what drives us as a company is continually listening to the clients and what has come up from that. So, one of the things that's come up, we've since gone and we've created a solution for urinals. So when we introduced the toilets, people said, oh, what about urinals? You go to a pub or you go to a rugby game or any of these things, urinals are a problem. So we developed a solution for urinals, it's a world first. It's a novel. We've got international patents on that throughout the world, yeah.
What about the talent to develop this innovation? Is it SA-based?
So I think, all the talent has come from SA, and I think there again, just with a lot of the country and everything's always going towards the market, going towards all this open source stuff. I think there's so many expertise out there. So if you can just unleash and use these pockets of expertise, you ultimately get a better product.
Thank you. That was Dylan Ross Kent, who's the Chief Executive and founder of Hygizone. The Competition Commission